This episode started extremely creepy with a gift of snakes and then ended extremely sad, like very depressing. Uh,
Well, if your anaconda ain't got none, then she don't.
the Yeah, this episode was all over, but in a very good way. I think between the character moments, story progression, and especially with that ending scene, I've been saying for a while, a show that usually runs about 10 episodes, you got to, around the middle point, you've got to sort of shift directions. And I think this is the beginning of it, of this show doing that.
Yeah, I think it's, and we talked about it several times. Like you said, the midway point, them not completely solving it, but at least giving us a directional shift. And this one did.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. Um, Welcome to Pulp Mythos. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. I'm Brian here with Spencer. We talk about Perry Mason every Sunday night. We do different shows on Sundays. We'll be doing Lovecraft Country. I think we'll be doing The Boys, although that will be on
Oh,
Fridays.
yeah.
We'll be doing Mandalorian season 2 in October. We do movie reviews on Fridays, so a lot of content on the channel. Subscribe, hit the bell, and yeah, we're gonna keep going here with Perry Mason episode 4. Love the episode. Might be my favorite of the season so far. I was thinking about that about halfway through, as far as the pacing. It's a slow burn. The whole season has been that, but now we're finally, I feel, I'm starting to really get into the characters. We're getting those character moments. I'm um, relating to them. The comedy now is sprinkled in just the right way, where you laugh at one moment, and comedy is always a good way to get an audience to, I guess, relax and get into the story. And I enjoyed a lot of the comedy in this episode, even though it
I,
was so depressing at certain points.
I think it also, because the Pete character, the sidekick, Perry
Yeah.
Mason's, I think sometimes when they sprinkle in a little bit of comedy like that, the parts that are a little bit more sad or a little bit more dramatic hit a little harder because you're just, kind of giggling or laughing. And then 2 seconds later, you're like, oh shit. And I think that helps kind of offset it a little bit. And it makes, to me, the more powerful moments feel more powerful.
I also want to give a shout out to, if I butchered these names, I apologize. Susan Withrow had some comments about Drake from last week's episode. Very, very nice comments. And Andrew Marinelli, my God, you wrote like paragraphs. Had a lot of thoughts on the show. Some criticisms, or at least thoughts of, is it does the show warrant itself existing with the Perry Mason name? A lot of good thoughts. I enjoyed reading it, and anyone who's listening to this, you can go back to the episode 3 review to read those comments. I like what you said at the end about how, and I didn't research this, so I'll just take your word for it. I guess in the lore of Perry Mason, he only lost 3 cases, and you suggested that perhaps this is one of those cases. And I think the end of this episode, with EB possibly being dead, at least that's what it alluded to,
Or even incapacitated,
or
even if
either
he's
or.
not able to. Yeah.
Perry Mason clearly, I think, is going to have to run the case now as a lawyer. And could he lose? Could this be one of those cases? I thought it was an interesting theory. Uh, I think it's leading. I don't know. Would you think that it could go in? If they lost, would that mean Emily gets executed? I mean, I
Well,
don't.
I
Yeah.
think it could go multiple ways. I don't think that uh, what is it, like a plea bargain to me doesn't count as a win. That's not, he won the case. So he could, it could not be a technical win. It could, get bargained down because throughout the episode, I think it did a great job with EB and the DA kind of going back and forth. But towards the end, he never answered the phone. So I don't know if the DA was offering a plea or if he finally, believed him that he had something. I don't know. So I don't know that. Well, I guess if it's either death or 15 years. I guess 15 years would be a win, but I don't, as a lawyer, I don't know if that counts as a win if you're able to bargain it down.
We got two confirmations in this episode. One, the DA does not know about the dirty cop. He
No, not
doesn't.
the one.
Yeah,
He knows
yes.
that they're not conducting things ethically.
But yeah.
Yeah.
But he doesn't know that they're involved in the murder. And two, Alice truly believes that she's being communicated with by God. Like she truly believes that that's not an act. Uh,
Well,
so that was interesting.
I thought a cool part in the episode, and I still believe that the church is behind some nefarious things.
We got some
However, I don't know
shadiness
that,
from the church this episode. We'll talk about that in a minute.
but I'm not sure that she is. I don't know if she's schizophrenic. I don't know if she's, because of, they said that she had an epileptic seizure. Those cause brain damage. Like I'm a type 1 diabetic, and I've banged my head several times, had a lot of seizures, and I have brain injuries from that. So I imagine and I've had several, but epilepsy causes, frequent seizures, like, one a week, one a month, and I don't have that many. So I couldn't imagine if she's early 30s, late 20s, if she's had that her whole life, how many of those seizures she's had. Like that's damaging to your brain, your like physical well-being. So I don't know if she's crazy or if she just legit believes that she's being spoke to by God.
We got introduced to a couple other things as far as the church. The elders, a council of old guys who have money and make a lot of money, I guess, from the church. So that was sort of introduced, and we also was told a couple times about paying rent for pews. So I guess you rent out the pews to sit in the church. So not only I think, I don't. This is just me assuming. Not only do you tithe, but there's some kind of rental system where to even sit in the building, I think you have to pay. So there's a lot of money going on, and that was established throughout the whole episode.
I think if you are offering a radio service at that time frame, to be able to see it in person and knowing that it's essentially a live stage act. They do a lot of different things. They're doing, the whole boat sequence in the last episode, the production of that. They are doing a lot of different things to, uh, kind of play towards their audience. So if they are charging money to have people sit down, that would make sense to me as another way to even have more income, as opposed to just tithing and getting people to donate through, the mail and radio. Jesus.
Yeah, and then think about, I don't know how the tax laws worked at that point as far, I know now in the United States, if you're a church, you're tax exempt. If they were tax exempt, so they're making all that money without no taxes on it. This is
zero taxes.
Yeah, this is an assumption. I have not looked into the tax laws of the 1930s, but I'm assuming that's the case. And damn, if it is, wow. Anybody who knows tax laws from the 1930s, feel free to comment below if I'm wrong. But yeah, a lot of money going on, and like I said, with that council of guys, I was like, damn, who the fuck are those guys? They're just sitting there looking angry and concerned, and their concern revolved around the cash flow.
I was trying to look it up.
Oh, okay. So this episode, we're going to talk about the comedy real quick. The three particular points that I noted because they just made me laugh. The first being when the DA went to the bathroom, and I don't know the guy, but he's like, "Get the fuck out!" And then he's like,
"Go wash his hands."
And I don't know, just it was funny. I laughed. Let's see here. The Perry Mason on the payphone trying to communicate with his kid, and the actor that he screwed over in the first episode finds him and beats his ass. That made me laugh. But the funniest part of the whole episode was towards the beginning, the coroner, is it Virgil? I don't know.
I think so.
he has some weird fetish about being shrunk down and put in a lady's purse. And I mean, I lost it. I laughed for like, I just kept laughing. And every time I thought about it for like 10 minutes, I would bust out laughing. So,
Well,
yet again, yeah, like I said, there was certain little comedy throughout the episode that really amused me.
well, even when he got scared and was trying to run out the house, and he was like, "What? You don't want to tell me more about wanting to be inside that lady's purse?" And then Pete, when they were at the Elks Lodge, and Pete was like, "So how strong are you guys on the whole fidelity thing?"
Yeah. I guess there was just a lot of little comedy, and it's been throughout the whole series to some degree, but for whatever reason, it stuck out more in this episode, I think, than it had in the past. Did you find it or
Yep,
no?
1913.
Oh, so that's when they became exempt.
Yep.
Oh shit. Okay, so there you go. So this church, all that money that's come going through there would have been tax free. So
Well,
damn.
and I imagine these guys were all. I mean, it's hard to tell because somebody who's 40 now, you know, back in the day, 40 looked like EB. Like it was, you, you know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah.
different. Like we age better now. There's more medicine. There's, you know, hand creams and face creams and ladies, like there's all kinds of stuff. But these these gentlemen, these elders look a little older. So they would know when that tax exemption came into place. So have these people been running this for a while? Because clearly it's a business. This isn't
Yeah.
a new business. These guys have been doing this for a minute. And they also alluded to Alice and her mom uh, basically doing like tent churches. Like they were running
Yes.
tents and stuff. So they were like
The
sideshowy type things.
the more fringy side of things. Yeah. Yeah. They do allude to that.
So they, what I'm thinking happened with them is that, because in the last one I said that perhaps the mom has been selling her. This episode, it made me think even more so that she was. But I think that she was selling her as kind of like a commodity, like a freak show type thing. She, was basically her manager as she was going to these tents and drawing in all these people. And I think this church, heard about her and found her and knew how many people were coming to see her. And they tried to take advantage of her popularity as well.
Alice truly, as I said, believes that she was told that she can raise Charlie. The the elders basically prepare a statement for her to go out and basically say, "Oh, that was all bullshit, my bad." And she's going to do it, and then she changes her mind because one of the followers who who is in line with that way of thinking, because the church seems to be split, even the congregation. Some are for what she said, some think it's radical and crazy, and so she doubles down. She's like, "Nah, he will be resurrected, and I'll do it on Easter." And so the
That was
show,
fantastic.
it was a great scene. She's been amazing. Everybody was amazing in this episode. John Lithgow, which we'll talk about in a minute, was phenomenal. Hopefully, he gets some kind of nomination. But it's a big deal because now we've set up this. We've set a date for when she supposedly will do this. I believe I'd have to go back and read it, but that one of the commenters I spoke of moments ago, I think he said something along the lines of they were probably gonna, do some of the religious stuff, but keep it vague, like never completely answer whether or not, these things circles or not. And I think he's right. I don't think we're gonna get anything super at all, but there may be things where you're like, well, hmm.
Oh yeah, whether or not.
Yeah,
Well, I think that West in the 1930s there actually was some medicine as opposed to the 1400s, and there's medicine ladies who are basically just sprinkling lavender and other essential oils on you to
well,
heal you.
I was thinking, could Charlie The only thing I could think of is if that wasn't Charlie.
Oh
What if
yeah.
that was the only thing that popped in my head? What if there's some twist and that was not Charlie? That Charlie's actually alive somewhere, and this is another baby, or so, that was the only thing I was thinking of. Where a way you could do this storyline where it's not supernatural at all, but it's still Charlie returns. I don't know. What do you think?
Well, that would strengthen my theories that not only were they kind of in on it, that this was a money thing. Um, that would be a huge publicity stunt. Could you fucking imagine? Like if she was able to, figuratively, because she didn't clearly resurrect a baby, but if all these people thought that she was able to
Hmm.
bring back somebody from the dead, how many people she would be like what was the movie with Steve Martin?
It's a great movie. I know exactly which one
Leap
you're
of
talking
Faith.
about. Yeah, great movie.
So something like that, where he's this huge charlatan, and these people are really believing in him, and then he's got to come forward and be like, "Man, I'm sorry." So,
But that movie also has the whole he's full of shit and it's all fake, but then at the end it rains. And you know what I mean? It's that sort
yeah,
of nod, like, oh, was it or wasn't it? And yeah, I think they could go some route like that.
but I'm
Maybe.
just thinking, like, money wise, like how much money he was able to bring in, basically being this giant charlatan. How much money would they be able to bring in at that time when people relied more on those kind of things? They just came out of the depression. Like there's a lot of people putting their faith and money into religion. So I couldn't imagine how much money they would be able to make if they were able to bring back somebody from the dead, or even figuratively or metaphorically or whatever.
Yeah. The Let me see where I want to go with that. Uh, we get a little more with Della this episode. Still not a whole lot. I don't, we see where she lives. Is that I don't. It was vague on who everybody was. It really didn't go into it. Um, but we got a little bit more of her, and how this case is affecting her and upsetting her. Her relationship with EB. She's getting frustrated. She doesn't feel that he's respecting her, which he wasn't. And like I said, we got a little more. I want more of her because I still want to. I just To me, they're not telling us enough about her. We're getting scenes with her, but we're not really digging in like we have been with like Perry Mason, or even EB to some degree.
I think with EB though, his frustration with her made me feel more sorry for him, because I feel like he's got dementia. He's literally forgetting stuff, kind of going a little crazy. So I can't I know, me personally, when my blood sugar gets low and I either can't communicate or I can't, connect the dots, the amount of frustration I feel. So for him, like legitimately forgetting shit, like 100%. When he was talking about his files and he's, where is this at? And she's like, that's in the basement. And he's like, well, that's a shitty filing system. And she's like, look, I didn't even start here until 1924. That's all your shit. You did that. But
It
he didn't realize that. So,
it was a great scene because they were both frustrated, and both of them had lack of knowledge. He
yeah,
wasn't understanding why she was frustrated, and she didn't understand what was going on with him and the DA and all that stuff. So these are two people who are not communicating properly, and they both have this frustration. And it exploded. Great, again, great scene.
yeah. And I mean, I love John Lithgow because he can play a great villain, i.e., Dexter, and even this, he's a funny guy. But in this, it it to me shows his range of acting ability, and I've seen him in lots of other stuff, so that wasn't in question. But this to me is a different role that I haven't seen him in before, and I really enjoy it. And Della, and I don't know who the actress is. I looked it up, but I don't remember her name. But she does a a great job in this, and it's a supporting character. She's not thrust into the limelight, but to me, she helps make the best of every scene. You are able to sympathize with her, and like I said, even with EB getting super frustrated and stuff, she tries to handle it professionally. She's like, I was the one that put this together for you. I was the one that, got all these papers together. I was the one that filled this out, and you didn't even have to do anything but sign it. You didn't even do anything but look it over. So she's doing a lot of the legwork with it, which is a paralegal thing. They do a lot of the legwork at law offices, but she felt disrespected, and I think that she did such a good job of conveying that you also feel for her as well.
Yeah. I mean, when you look at everything he went through between, and you got, that's why I'm looking forward to the next episode so much, whether he's dead or in a bad state where, he's in hospitalized, either or. Imagine what she's going to feel like and what what that's going to do to her. So between his fight with her, the money situation with the DA is, we knew he had some skeletons in the closet. We learned a little bit more about that. And then another amazing scene. This episode had so many great scenes. The scene in the prison or the jail with him and Emily. Uh, Man, I can imagine them reading the script and, really, okay, they got to play against each other, and both of them having to display that level of emotion. And here's a guy who feels like a failure, and he has to relay that he can't, he knows she's innocent, and yet he doesn't think he can save her. And great scene. And when he was, I figured he was going to try and kill himself when he was doing the bird feeder, and it was just the way it was all shot. I don't know. I just had this feeling. I was like, especially after the scene with Emily, I was like, yeah, this dude's about to kill himself. Did you suspect it until he did it, or what, the lead up to it, or no?
I didn't, but I wasn't surprised. Uh, Him falling apart with Emily, I was, while I was watching that, I was talking about it with my wife, and I was saying, your lawyer, if you're sitting there, you're stuck in jail, and you've been in jail for a minute, and you're looking to this lawyer for hope because you're innocent. You're like, man, I'm going to get out. What are we going to do? How are you going to help me get out? And they're falling apart and basically being like, well, there ain't shit I can do. That would make me lose all hope because you're basically, and back then there was no TV in jail. There was no nothing. You would literally just sit there staring at a damn wall for the next, I don't know, however many days it was, thinking about how your lawyer fucking fell apart and is like, hey, take a plea deal. I'd be like, oh no. So what I was actually anticipating was her trying to kill herself, not him,
Hmm.
because her
Mhm.
feeling like hopeless after that incident. So I was actually anticipating her like either, trying to do something, then her getting saved by, you know, the big lady in the white outfit there that was clanging on the gates. Like I figured she was going to have to swoop in and save her, but I was not anticipating EB. But it
We've
did make sense when it happened. I wasn't surprised.
we've been talking, over 20 minutes. We're almost done here, and yet we've not really talked about Perry Mason, the star of the show, because that's how good the supporting cast is and how many great moments they had throughout the episode. He was in it and he had some good scenes as well, but this was another strength of this episode, I think, was rounding out all the other characters. He doesn't have to be in every scene, and it still is entertaining and something worth watching. But we did get some, him and his girlfriend. We got a little nice little scene with them. Him, which we talked about earlier, him starting to crack this case and figure out the cop is dirty and the whole lodge thing, doing detective work. And then him getting his ass whooped in the phone booth, which was funny.
I did. I really liked the scene with him and Pete breaking down all the different things. Like when they're trying to find out a way to exit the building, they're doing the detective work, but basically they're being private eyes. They have a little bit more, I guess, freedom because I imagine there's a lot of red tape when it comes to police work. Although they've showed back in the 30s in Hollywood, there wasn't a whole lot of red tape they couldn't cross. But him seeing him at the lodge and just, I figured what he was going to do is like sit behind him and like watch him for a minute to see how much he was going to bid, or indicate that he still had some of that money. But when he just sat next to him and outbid him, I was like, oh shit. That And then, talking to him, basically being like, hey, this is awfully convenient, dude. You are right here. He's like, yeah, I'm here a couple days a week. And he's like, uh-huh. Kind of piecing it together. I thought that was very interesting. And like I said, I don't know what connections the lodge will have, if any, or if they were just putting it together, basically saying that the cop was that close. Like that's how they're finding out, putting that piece together. I don't know. I'm interested to see how many hands are in this by the end of it.
Yeah. This is a little quicker than usual. I had my notes very well organized, so I little tip my hat to that. Do you have anything else to say? Because I don't know. We pretty much, I'm trying to think if I missed anything major. I think we went through just about all the main points.
Well, no, because to me it wasn't a major point. I just thought it was really cool how they went through each scene of I guess not the murder, but the crime, where they were putting everything together. They were, sitting there in the window, and then I thought it was really cool how they broke down the crime and kind of were putting it together. I did like all the scenes with the coroner. Like,
yes,
that was great when he was getting drunk after he found out that he had him on the table, and I really enjoyed. It's hard sometimes because there's a lot of shows that you watch where certain characters you enjoy way more than others. So there's kind of like those dead parts in episodes where you're just like, we got to establish this sub character. But this is not that show. Like, I enjoy every scene with every character, and am, completely immersed in each character's story. And I, tip my hat to whoever's writing / directing / producing all this stuff, because they're doing a fantastic job.
Yeah, like I said, the only real complaint I had at all was I want more of like Della's backstory. That's about it, and I think we will get that. So yeah, great episode. I don't think I checked the clock once watching it. This particular episode, I was very invested. We appreciate you guys listening, and as I said, lots of content on the channel, lots more coming, and yeah, there's 6 more episodes of Perry Mason. So we will see you next time.
The director is somebody who's done like all the other things. He
For
did Boardwalk
HBO?
Empire.
Oh, shit, yeah.
He also directed a couple Game of Thrones episodes, The Sopranos, The Pacific.
Was this the only one he directed of Perry Mason? Is it a he or? Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's directed several. It's Timothy Van Patten.
Okay.
But yeah, he's directed several. Or is directing. He's directed 5 episodes of Perry Mason.
Oh, well, shit. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Well,
and he actually looks super familiar. Oh, shit. No, that's not him. Never mind. When I first saw him, I thought it was an actor, and I was like, oh my God, it's not. Never mind. Scratch that. But he's doing a great job, him and the writers.
Yeah. Well, all right. We'll see y'all next time. Or we won't technically see you, but you'll hear us next time.
Hear you next time.
Hear you? Yeah. All right.
Bye.
Bye.